God of War is almost here, early 2018, still no date, although we had that leaked release date in the PlayStation Store March 22nd, but still no confirmation and a lot of questions about the game. But now, thanks to an article in Game Informer, actually the cover story, we learned way more about the game, like the upgrade system, crafting armor, and way more awesome info on the combat and way more. So I bought a copy of the Game Informer magazine, read the whole thing, and I will give you all the interesting info you need to know from this big article. But of course, if you want to read it for yourself, check out the magazine for yourself to read the full story. There's a ton to unpack, so sit back, let's dive in. If you enjoy that, then a like would be super appreciated, and let's go. Let's start with the combat that we of course already saw well displayed in the Paris Games Week demo. Game Informer played the game. I really think that they are one of the first people that got their hands on the controller, and they talked about how you can approach the fight in multiple ways. Your axe is called the Leviathan and can be thrown to enemies to freeze them. You can then run up to them, hitting them with your shield. Then we of course also have the Spartan Rage that makes you really feel like a god. We of course saw that in E3 2016. That gameplay reveal, more on that later on in this video. And also ask your son for help. He can stay behind to shoot arrows onto enemies for a chance to stun them. And if they're stunned, you can just grab them, throw them away, use them as your weapon. And you can also use your son as an extension of your combo by hitting the square button at the right time. So there's one button that is dedicated to your son. So that's pretty interesting. That's the square button. So you have this freeze ice blast ability, but you also can equip different abilities. And more on that again later on in this video. So yes, there are a ton of ways to kill the incoming enemies. And while the game is totally different from the previous God of War games, Kratos will still feel strong, but just less aggressive, but more tactical and strategic, according to the lead gameplay designer, Jason McDonald. There should be more decision making at what enemies to approach first, and also how to use the environment, as we saw in the Paris Games Week trailer for example, where Kratos threw his axe and that caused a major explosion. And these tactics are not just fun to use, but they also seem to be needed, because there are different types of enemies that have strong and weak points against different attacks, like the Revenants that dodge all your melee attacks, and these so-called ice-fused humanoids that are resistant against slashes from your axe. But yeah, imagine those foes together and more into the mix, and you got yourself a pretty interesting fight. The axe and the shield will really be the star of the shows in terms of weapons in this God of War game, and while it wasn't really mentioned what the full power of the shield will be, can it do other things than some stunning melee blows and defending yourself by holding L1? The axe though can be used for light and heavy attacks and can be thrown to an enemy after you threw the enemy in the air and then just summon it back with triangle. You can also throw the axe at the environment, like I already showed you, to cause explosions, and it should also be used to expose the back of the enemy so you can deal more damage. There could be more weapons as well. Santa Monica did not want to say that, but I totally believe there might be some twists to change things up a bit, but right now we know that the axe and the shield are the stars of the show. Speaking of changing things up, customization is a huge thing in this new game according to this article. You can really change the way how Kratos plays. One of the main things you can do is equip a rune for your light attack and for your heavy attack. Every rune is unique, has a unique special move, but the effect depends on if you use it as a light or heavy attack. For example, it has an impact on the range, or if it's an area of effect attack, or more a direct fire ability. You can always switch, but you do have to choose which one you want to upgrade eventually, because there are multiple levels and every rune will get new stats by leveling it up. Of course, an ability that is present is the Spartan Rage I already touched on, and now we know that it indeed fills up during combat and that it gives you another move set. When you activate it, you become really strong and punch everyone, you put your shield away, and yeah, you just feel really strong, just like Kratos was in the previous games. And yes, we see that in this footage as well. Something that has me really excited is the crafting system that will be in place and we first did not really know a lot about. Well, now we do know some more, that during your adventure you will find crafting resources like hack silver, and that will be one of those materials that you can use to make and upgrade armor and put them in a handful of different slots. So Maybe there will be a chest piece, a helmet piece, something like that. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll of course make a ton of videos about that as well. Then we also got XP that you can spend on skills to make the combat even more interesting. Again, not a lot of new info, not a lot of details, but the idea that we will have a ton of customization and probably awesome looking secret armor to collect got me really excited. So how does this upgrade screen look? Well, Zika on Twitter found something interesting in a overview shot, and the game director responded to him, kind of teasing that this indeed looks to be the upgrade screen where we see Kratos on the right side, and you probably see some sort of upgrades, maybe the gear. It kind of looks like the Shadow of War inventory menu to me. So pretty interesting stuff, but again, we can't really see a lot. They really want to keep a ton of secrets. They also touched on the camera that doesn't cut in the game, which is of course pretty insane, and we already knew that. And that the game is 25 till 35 hours long. We already knew that as well from the PlayStation Experience presentation, and I discussed that in a previous video going over all the news from that presentation. But the article also touches on the future, and it's pretty interesting because again, we still have no release date, but they still say early 2018. But we already know that Corley Barlog, the game director, looks at this as a new start for the franchise, a possible new trilogy, and that we might go to the Egyptian era. And let me stop you right there, because I think that would be amazing, to be honest, fighting the Egyptian gods. After Assassin's Creed Origins, I really believe more games would benefit from that setting, so totally God of War as well. Speaking of Assassin's Creed, Barlog really wants the God of War franchise to grow, to get it in more people's hands, to make it on the same level of Uncharted and Assassin's Creed. So of course, we will have to wait and see how it all shakes out. What I can say is that it just looks fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on this game. It will probably be only 2 months, but that they're waiting kinda has me worried that they might slip it a month or something like that. But we will have to wait and see. When we know the official release date, I will of course let you know, so be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on everything God of War. Thanks a lot for watching, like this video to support the channel, check my video on that leaked release date, and I'll speak to you next time. Goodbye!